Nation.
SMD Law is the official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Check them out on the interwebs at smdalaw.com or at 866-529-3537. No matter where you are in the state of Michigan, Upper Peninsula, Lower Peninsula, it doesn't matter. They have an office near you. So whether you need to send a letter to an annoying neighbor, or you're a criminal and you need defense, maybe you just have problems with elder law, check them out, smdalaw.com today. The official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Call them first. Then you act.
Right. Welcome back, Spartan Nation Radio. We now talk to the man, the legend, the myth, the way of life. You guys know him as Coach, legendary State of Michigan Prep High School football and basketball coach. Women love him, men fear him. He is an absolute legend among legends, a man among men. He stands so tall that Chuck Norris asks him for advice. He is a man who single-handedly avoided World War III by simply taking off his shirt. The great Chuck Kinnear. Coach, how are you?
I'm good. Norris is a wussy.
All right. What is that?
That's a semi. I'm out standing out in front of a restaurant back in the city. Sorry for that.
All right, Coach. We're talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly with Michigan State sports. Let's start with Tom Izzo. I told you he was going to do this several months ago. We've hinted at it, but couldn't tell people who. He donates $1.1 million to renovate Munn Arena.
Wow, yeah, great. He's left his mark on MSU athletics, and he's going to leave even a bigger mark for years to come. He's quite a Spartan. That's an ideal Spartan right there.
I mean, to me, when you look at, he gave $1 million for football, he gives $1 million for hockey. I know he's made millions, but I'm a free market capitalist. He doesn't have to give one dime back to the university. I think it just lends to the legacy that he'll never be matched at Michigan State.
I think that also he's done a great job with his part in basketball there. That's kind of our lot in life, isn't it? To give back to what we believe is a great future for young people today, and that's just exactly what he's doing. It's just not all take, but it's take and it gives. So he's given back as much as he's taken.
Coach, I'm going to throw this to you because I think it's a big point. I think it's an important point. But Moneyball begins this week, and I think this could be one of the biggest Moneyballs in Moneyball history for Michigan State. A lot of Spartan basketball players will be playing. I know that you live up north. You don't get to go to all the games, but you do get to watch the interviews. How excited are you for Moneyball to get started?
I'm really excited. I want to see some of those young people that they had last year, freshmen, Gabe Brown, Marcus Bingham, if he's playing. I'm sure they're probably involved some way. I want to see those guys like that. Kithier, I want to see him develop another year. They've got a strong team coming next year, and I'm just really anxious to see how well they have got stronger, gotten bigger, and their play has developed. So I'm really excited for the Moneyball.
Coach, I want to ask you about Spartan football. For you, there's been a lot of talk within Michigan State that this is going to be either D'Antonio's last year or one more year only. We're hearing some different talk to recruits. Do you think it's a fair question at Big Ten Media Days to ask Mark D'Antonio, how much longer do you plan on coaching?
Oh, I think it's extremely fair because I know for a fact, and it's been reported on the Ballot Forum and in other areas too, that this is being used heavily against Michigan State as far as recruiting offensive players. Not necessarily the defensive players, but the defense is strong. The coaches on the defensive side are doing a terrific job. And they're going to get people to play on the Michigan State defense just because the defense plays so well. But they will have some problems, too, on the defensive side to some degree. But the offensive coaches are having a lot of trouble. The offense over the last few years has been stagnant at best, and they're using that. And the offensive production is not as good play, and the possibility that D'Antonio is here for one more, maybe 2 more years. So it's being used heavily against them. It's more than a fair question, I think, at Media Days.
Coach, as you know, we've been doing a ton of stories on recruiting at Spartan Nation. Jim Tressel said it before Mark D'Antonio got here to Spartan Nation. He was the best evaluator of talent he was ever seen. I think Mark D'Antonio, I don't care about stars. As long as he wants them, I believe in their talent and his ability to develop it. Agree or disagree?
I totally agree with that. He's been able to pick a lot of plums off the tree that other people. Look at Le'Veon Bell. You look at Joe Bocci, players like that were highly related coming out of high school. They brought him in here, they developed them, and they've become great players in that sense. You had Kenny Willekes, All-American, was a walk-on. When he came in, they saw him. So, yeah, he's able to find, there's a lot of glitz out there today with the recruiting and these 4 stars and 5 stars in the camps based upon athleticism. Not so much on being a football talent, but as athleticism. And what he has been able to do is find people, young people, that are football players. And there's a big difference between being really athletic and being a football player.
I totally agree. We're talking to the one, the only, the great one, the legend, Coach Chuck Grenier. I'm going to tell you how big of a stud Coach Grenier is. Do you know he once went to a convent and had 31 women ask him out on a date?
You give me too much credit. It's only 30.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, Coach, you got to admit, I'm good for your ego, aren't I?
Oh, you boost my head. It's swelling. I can't wear my hat anymore.
Yeah, then the problem is if you go see Becky and she brings you right down to size quick, doesn't she?
Right down to grassroots. Right down there. Yeah, that's right.
But I think she loves your radio appearances more than you do.
Yeah. Well, maybe, yeah.
All I have to say.
Something about bull. I don't know. She mentioned something about the bull or something. I don't know.
Let me tell you this about Coach, ladies and gentlemen. He was once a judge for the Miss USA pageant, and he said to the lady who won it, "Now you're really a winner. Put the crown on the ground. You're marrying me." And Becky walked off the stage and married him without even a date. That's a true story, isn't it, Coach?
That's a fact. That's the fact. That's right.
All right, Coach. I want to get into a little bit on a little bit more angle on sports. I want to talk to you about the rising costs of college athletics. The game day experience in football now and even basketball is being negated as fans stay home on their 70-inch TVs. Is this something to be concerned about? That now more money in sports comes via television rights than ticket sales?
I think it's more a problem at Division II and below. Division I, they're always going to get the big TV contracts. They're going to be making the money as long as your programs are winning. You're going to get the big donors, the people that make the big bucks. And as long as you wine and dine them and cater to them, their money's going to be there. But in the D2 level, that's a totally different ball game out there. You had some problems. You saw some problems last year at some of the D2 schools around the state of Michigan, where they had recruiting violations and multiple recruiting violations. And it's because they're not able to have the money because they're not getting that kind of money, and they don't have enough people to check, make sure that everything is legit and eligible. So I think the problem is going to be more at the lower levels of college football than it's going to be at the upper levels, and it does cost an awful lot of money for equipment now. And you see some of the major programs like in Oregon that have the Nike going on out there, and they have a different kind of uniform about every quarter of a football game, it looks like out there. But that's a lot of money, and I don't think anybody out there listening really has a concept. That would be something good that you might want to do in the future is to have some kind of price list of what the cost of an equipment is and how many people actually work for a football or basketball program. It's a tremendous amount of money. So I think it will come to a head eventually, but I think the problem really is at the lower levels than other than D1.
I agree with you. Coach, I want to throw this out to you because I think it's fascinating, but as more money now comes in from TV than tickets, here's my biggest concern. If you're not getting kids in those seats falling in love with that team early on, and it just becomes a TV game, you're going to lose out to video games and everything else. My son went to every game growing up until about age 10. Now he's 14. Now he really doesn't like to go to football. He'll watch the games on TV, but he doesn't like to go to Spartan Stadium, doesn't like to travel to the games. And basketball, he likes to go because basketball is his favorite sport. But even now, he doesn't want to go to every home game. I'm concerned as the game day experience continues to dwindle, we're going to hurt the future of the game with kids that grow up loving it.
Well, as I see it, growing up and going through your son's age and all that, when I was a young man, me and Freddie Flintstone, we didn't get a chance to see a lot of basketball and football games because they just weren't on very often. And in order to see one of these games, you actually had to travel to one of these games. Today, it's easier to get to those games than it ever was before. And if you stay home, you have your choice of probably 20 games to watch on that day. So, it's not as big a factor, I think, for young kids to make sure that they get to see a game because they get to see so many of them. Just about every Michigan State football game, I think, is going to be on TV. Every basketball game is going to be on TV. And some of those kids that are a lot like me, like basketball, I don't feel like when we had season tickets to Breslin, leaving Breslin and walking a couple blocks out to a cold car was not really appealing to me at that point either. And you go to a football game and you get the young kids out there and it's raining and it gets cold and they got better things to do sometimes. So I think it's a problem in the future, and I think it's a problem because they just become saturated with it at that point.
I agree. He's the one and only, the great Coach Chuck Grenier. We'll be back. Great Coach Chuck Grenier. We'll be back.